Hello, everybody. How is everyone on this great and wonderful day? I am not doing too bad. A bit exhausted from today's festivities. Um, had to work very hard today, but I am here and I am doing well. I'm doing okay. Like I said, just a bit exhausted. So while we're all here getting ready to talk about some more character creation and doing another workshop. This one may not be as long as the others, or even close to being as long, because we're just going to sit down and talk about alignments for a little bit. And so we do have, we do have a comment here in here. Probably came around 8 o'clock. I do apologize. I am roughly a little late, but I'm not going to say what I was doing. Wasn't bad. Just I had to go do something, and I ran a little bit behind. That's all. So we have a question or a statement stating here from Archer Collin. I must admit that alignment has always seemed a rather odd idea to me, especially since the very definition can vary depending upon your perspectives. What was her name? Which name are we talking about? Leah? Because we have, I think we have three males. We have Sir Brian. We have Leah, who's the elf rogue. We have Gimbal, the gnome wizard. Sir Brian's the human knight. And then we have Hank. Hank. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Annoying ass name, but he's a half orc bard. Excuse me. So, anyway, alignment. 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 Okay, so I said it 3 times. Anyway, let that sink in for a minute. Okay, and I'm going to tell you the very definition of what alignment actually is in tabletop role playing. I think alignment. First off, I'm going to tell you what I think alignment is, and then we are going to go with what alignment really is. Okay, I believe there's a pretty good definition in here, and then we're going to move on to another thing where we're going to start seeing some where we're going to look at alignment in various different forms. Alignment is a really actually confusing idea. Oh, no, the reason you were a bit late. Oh, okay. No, it wasn't a girl, unfortunately. The girl is not there was no girl as to why I was late. Nothing like that. Sadly, if it was that, I'd probably gloat about that, even on stream, saying, yeah, I was, had to, finish up. Cough, cough. No, it ain't nothing like that, unfortunately. So let's look at alignment, shall we? All right. So, I'm actually going through the book right now, and I'm looking for... Okay, alignment is around 16. Okay, alignment. Well, it says mainly is a suggested alignment for the class. Oh, they're only suggested, which means you can play anything. I say try to stick towards that. Because most of the classes actually have any as an alignment. There's some that it says, oh, you must be lawful or whatnot. Thinking about tweaking paladin and saying, well, because there was in some versions of tabletop role playing anti-paladins, which were basically paladins, but they were evil paladins. Hey, you have evil clerics, why not evil paladins? Alright, excuse me, I had to take a drink of my coffee, which is Monster. So, alright, so moving on from that. So we know what that is. I'm trying to find the actual alignment section in the book, because there is a whole section on this. And I definitely want to get into touch with like a small description, even a paraphrasing of alignment. Okay. Oh, there's a couple sections actually. Holy crap. Okay. So alignment represents the basic and most essential aspect of a character's worldview and moral outlook. Alignment is a description for the fundamental moral outlook of every sentient creature. Is the character good or evil? Chaotic, lawful, or even neutral? Alignment is a very basic description and acts as an ethical and motivational guide for characters non-player characters, and monsters. Alignment categories are fairly general, and there are much room for interpretation within each category of alignment. Now, I'm going to stop right there. The reason why I'm going to stop right there is because listen to that last one. Alignment categories are fairly general, and there is much room for interpretation within each category of alignment. Now, the term of interpretation is the term of one's perspective. That's what interpretation means. Now, and in case I'm wrong about that, I'm actually going to look up the word interpretation. Yeah. Who came here thinking that this was going to be fun? No, I'm giving a history lesson. I'm giving a lesson here, okay? So interpretation is the action of explaining the meaning of something. An explanation or a way of explaining. And another definition is a stylistic representation of creative work or dramatic roles. So, what does interpretation mean? It's basically to explain or to tell the meaning of. Present in an understandable terms, interpret dreams, needed help interpreting the results. To conceive in a light of individual belief, judgment, or circumstance. Construe, interpret a contract. So, you're probably thinking, what the fuck does all that mean? Well, you're trying to explain who your character is, in a sense, without actually doing it. You're trying to say, what's a good way to go? What does the young people say these days? Tell me you're single without saying you're single is actually interpretation. Because you're trying to tell someone something without actually saying it. So what is alignment? The combination... Well, okay, so I wouldn't say what... So the question is, what is alignment? It's a perspective. It's a guide. It is something that's untangible, and actually, believe it or not, the characters don't really know what their alignment is, because alignment is more of something for the player. Okay? A chaotic evil person says, I may be doing things for bad, but doesn't announce that what their alignment truly is. You just know if there's good in you or bad in you. Okay? Alignment actually suffers on two axes of... suffers. I use the word suffer. That's not good. Alignment is actually something that's got two actions. Or two alignment. Two sections. Okay? Alignments are two words each. Except for neutral. There's one that actually is just pure neutral. So, let's go through each and every one. The 9 alignments are lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil, neutral good, neutral evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, and chaotic evil. The first axis is how do you view the law? And then the second axis is what is your moral and personal beliefs? So to paraphrase, Eileen, your enemy does not see himself as a bad person. True, yes. You don't really treat that is very true. Because it's not about, it's not just about good and evil. It's about how does one attain their goal and their benefits, basically. Think of it like that. How does one attain my goal or my benefits in life? Okay? That's why you have two axes. The first axis is your lawful to neutral to chaotic. It's the first word. Lawful, neutral, and chaotic. The first words are the first aspect of the alignment. Lawful, neutral, chaotic. Generally represents a character's ideals and world view. These, however, are a broad categorization that goes to a character's core beliefs. Thus, all lawful characters are not the same, nor are all chaotic characters the same. Each might exhibit traits typically associated with the opposite. The following are general traits of each aspect. Law implies honor, trustworthiness, obedience to authority, and reliability. Also, lawfulness can include close-mindedness, reactionary, and adherence to tradition, and lack of adaptability. Which means law is absolute. It has been written. If you're a law-abiding citizen, let's apply this to real life. If you follow law and you don't even speed, you have never gotten a ticket. You've never broken the law once in your life. You are lawful. And people who try to say, well, this doesn't really hurt anyone. This is a victimless crime, blah, 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 blah. Maybe more of a chaotic nature. Or they're just trying to further their own beliefs, which would be more of a neutral thing, because they have their reasons why they should not feel, tied to how law is. Chaos does imply freedom, adaptability, and flexibility. Chaos can include recklessness, resentment towards legitimate authority, arbitrary actions, and irresponsibility. Why? Because they want freedom. They think everything should be flexible. They don't give a shit. They don't care what the law states or what's been signed into law. They don't care if it's good or bad. They want the ability to adapt to new things. Neutral implies a normal respect for authority with neither a compulsion to obey nor to rebel. That is my favorite one, actually. I gotta say, out of all of them, that is my favorite one. A person doesn't care what's been signed in the law. They're not going to obey or rebel against the law as far as they're concerned. However, if it does need to further their own goal, that does not suggest an alignment shift from lawful to chaos. Okay, they're honest, but can be tempted into lying or deceiving others. I mean, it's just a moral action of how they feel. Yeah, okay, yeah, we broke the law, but no one really got hurt. A person in chaos wouldn't care. They just want the freedom to do whatever they want. I did like the way D&D, I think, used to give examples of each alignment. Yeah, Colin, I gotta say, they did do a good job. Actually, believe it or not, D&D 3.5 was the reason why I got so hard up on alignments. Because I didn't really care for them at first. I thought they were stupid. But then, once I got a little bit better of understanding about alignments, which is still even a loose understanding, I'm trying to give the best examples that I can. This is going to be a very dry video, so I'm not going to try and take everyone's time up by spending a long time on it. I'm just trying to give everyone a better idea about what alignments are. Now, that doesn't mean for a GM that if you do one thing out of line to shift one's alignment. GMs actually, back in the day, it was quite common for GMs to do that just to spite the player. But it should not be used to spite the player. But it was used. Actually, one of the biggest tropes for that was actually used in the Gamers Darkness Rising, when a player was chaotic neutral, and it was a decisively evil act because the character who was chaotic neutral actually killed a farmer. Okay. I don't think him killing a farmer out of just trying to further his own... Now, the problem was, what he was trying to further, he knew he was trying to further, but his character would have not known because the character just heard about the situation. He was trying to further the adventure and get going on to move along the adventure because he didn't want to go through any cinematic scenes. So, unfortunately, there was a little bit of metagaming in that. So, if there's something like that where you're going to metagame, which we'll talk about metagaming probably in this video too. Metagame is basically you say your character knows something because you do, and that's not necessarily true. That's like basically saying, well, I know that this is going to happen in the adventure, so my character knows. The whole part of that whole beginning of the Gamers Darkness Rising, you can look it up, I believe it is on YouTube, is they already went to... This was the third time that player went through the same campaign. He had two other characters, and they both kept dying. He had two characters that died, but you only get to see from the second character's perspective, which was a human cleric. So, let's look at the second aspect, good and evil. The second aspect of alignment, good, neutral, or evil, generally represents the behavior and how a character expresses or imposes their ideals, whether lawful, neutral, or chaotic. Again, these are broad categorizations. The following are general traits of each aspect. Good implies altruism, respect for life, and a concern for the dignity of sentient beings. Evil implies hurting, oppressing, killing others, and selfishness. Selfishness. Sorry about that. And neutral. And neutral characters fall somewhere in between, but most are committed to others by personal relationship. A neutral person may sacrifice himself to protect his family or homeland, but he would not do so for strangers who are not related to him. Some neutral characters are simply selfish. So you're not going to take a bullet for someone you don't know, but you're going to take a bullet for your wife. Big deal. You know, that should be implied. Those who take bullets for other people whether they know them or not, and their family, those are generally like some good characters. We'll say good characters. Neutral good would be respectful, lawful good, and maybe even chaotic good. Unless you're like, oh man, I don't really want to take a bullet for my family. I have a lot to live for, including my kids. Then you're just an evil fucking dick. The toss-up between taking one player aside when their character is acting alone, leaving the others hanging and staying at the table where the players need to be aware of what their characters know. Exactly, yeah. That is the biggest toss-up. Let's talk about... So we've already talked about the broad categorization of these 9 alignments. Okay, so let's look at these 9 alignments. All right, we already got the broad toss-up between lawful, neutral, and evil, and chaotic, as well as good, neutral, and evil. Okay, now I do like one of the neutrals because technically it's neutral, but it's stupid to say neutral. Just say the word neutral. Some people call it true neutral. Some people have called it pure neutral. Some people just said it's just neutral. Leave it alone. I'm one of those people who, for a long time, I called it true neutral. Someone tried telling me, well, technically it should be pure neutral because you're neutral. And I'm like, that's the same damn thing. And I now agree to the point. It's just neutral. Leave it alone. Because people argue that one, and it's like it doesn't really freaking matter. It doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is what you put behind it. Okay, so for instance, a lawful good character. Lawful good characters of this alignment are dedicated to following the strictures of society, respecting law and order. They act for the benefit of others and society, placing great value on truth, honor, and life. That's lawful good. Now, that doesn't mean you have to, help everybody in every situation. Like, oh my god, there's monsters coming. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna die. I mean, if I come down there, I'm gonna die. So, Judge Dredd then. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna die. If you know you're gonna die and be put in a situation where you're not even gonna make a damn bit of difference, I mean, at least try and help the character. I'm not going to shift your alignment from lawful good to lawful neutral just to be a dick. That's what some dick person would do. If a lawful good character has to retreat and leave someone behind, it's not by... I can tell you for a fact, as long as you play it out there, that your character is conflicted because of their alignment, because of how you decide to play that character, that is not going to suggest an automatic thing. Unless you completely run away because you're a coward, then we'll have to find another alignment that a coward would be perspective. Because the lawful good characters, they're generally, they're not just, brave characters. I mean, they follow the rules. And they will take bullets for people. But to me, lawful good characters are brave characters. They will make the ultimate sacrifice. That's the way they are. And I am sorry, Judge Dredd. Yeah, Judge Dredd would be lawful good. Even though how he handles everything. Because he handles everything within the confines of what his society allows him to handle. And he has to live with that. That doesn't mean he lives with it without a problem. He definitely has a problem. He just has to... there's nothing he can do about it. So he either has to come to terms with it or he doesn't. So... I would say Judge Dredd might be a lawful good character. Alright, so lawful neutral. Characters of this alignment place primary importance on ultimate order, structure, and regulation of behavior. Good and evil are largely irrelevant to characters of this alignment because everything flows from the order of law. That is a character that's devoted to the law. So if you kill someone in the name of the law, that's irrelevant to him. If you restrain someone from hurting themselves or hurting others, and you just restrain them without killing them, okay, and you do it in a good way, a lawful neutral character still doesn't care. The only thing that he cares about is the law itself, and to make sure that order is ultimately retained. Lawful good or lawful neutral? I would say Judge Dredd would be lawful good because he is trying to uphold the law, but he's upholding law in the way that society allows him to. It's also good to say maybe Judge Dredd could be lawful neutral because he doesn't give a shit about good or evil. He only cares about the law. So honestly, after reading that description about lawful neutral, I would actually say that he's probably more of that because his society, because you do have evil people and you have good people. That's not the point. He doesn't care. It's like there was a person who was breaking the law, and he was probably a good person. He was just poor. But he still told him, if you're here when I come back, you're going to the cubes. He didn't care. The point is the character was breaking that character who was begging for food, basically was breaking the law. So you could argue very easily that Judge Dredd is, lawful neutral because he doesn't care about good or evil. He didn't care how evil that the villain was in that movie. And I'm talking about Dredd. He didn't care about how evil she was. For those who probably have never seen the actual original Judge Dredd, I didn't really care for that one too much, even though it has Sylvester Stallone in it. But I do like it. I mean, it's okay. It's science fiction. But I did like the new Dredd with Carl Urban. So he didn't care how evil Mama was. He only cared about the fact that she was breaking the law because she was a drug dealer. So yeah, lawful neutral probably be better to explain Judge Dredd. Let's talk about lawful evil, right? Okay, so characters of this alignment value structure and order, and they place no limit on attaining it, especially if the goal is to further their own benefit. They do not value life or concern for others. Ultimately, they seek to impose their ideals on others through strict regulation. I'd have to say, since we're using Dredd, how about the 4 judges that came in? Granted, they didn't kill all the judges. They only went after Judge Dredd, which murder is against the law. But at the same time, they were using the law in a way to further their own benefit. So they had to kill him. They were going to set him up, which could also be best disclaimed, probably better to explain in another alignment, but I think that could be considered lawful evil. You're killing someone to further your own goals. Or you're trying to hurt someone, such as blackmail. Well, I don't think blackmail would be a good thing, because blackmail is against the law, too. But you would probably use, say, hey, I will help you and protect you, but, you're going to have to pay me for protection, which isn't against the law in a lot of places. But, well, in real life it is. That's called extortion. Let's not talk about that. Yes, Anderson was more towards lawful good, and he probably a bit towards lawful evil. Well, again, lawful evil value structure and order, and they place no limit on attaining it, especially if the goal is their own benefit. Dredd did not do anything for his own benefit. He literally just did not care. So that would fit better under a lawful neutral selection. I think a good way to explain a character of lawful evil is probably, we're going to sit down. Sorry, that should have been lawful neutral. Oh, it's all good. All good, Colin. You know what? I'm probably going to have to act out on a solo game, which means you guys are going to see me talk to myself. Yay. Probably do a nice read about what a lawful evil character would be. I think it's better if somebody shows you kind of what it is. So, a lawful evil character would uphold the law, but would do it any way possible. If killing someone, even though murder is against the law, would be best to uphold the law. Like, say, for instance, but you're not killing just anybody. It's like, oh, this person is, like, murdered a family. And this family I was giving money from this family for protection. Well, I'm still going to go kill him because he broke the law, and I don't care. He took money from me. It is, I really prefer the BX style of alignment. Yeah. Yeah, but those alignments are only one word. I prefer the 2 words. We all have our preferences. And nice to see you here, Witch King. Law, neutral, chaos. Well, I mean, that's just rather say good, neutral, or evil. I mean, this is just 2 word alignments, but it's all left up for interpretation. We actually just discussed that. That's actually what it says here in the book. It's literally a broad thing, Lawful evil is not hard to play, nor is it impossible. It's one of the most flexible alignments you could ever be. Aside from lawful good or lawful neutral. Anyway, let's talk about another alignment. Neutral good. Characters of this alignment have a healthy respect for both law and freedom, typically choosing a road between the two in order to achieve benefits and mercy for all. That's neutral good. Batman. See, Batman goes above the law. He does not kill, but he goes above the law. Batman is neutral good, typically, because he is chosen a road between law and chaotic to benefit mercy for all, not just himself, to save an entire city. Batman is neutral good. Not really. Law can be good or evil. Chaos can be good or evil. Neutrality is pretty much everyone. Yeah. Yes. Speaking of neutral, let's talk about the real neutrality here. Let's talk about true neutral or neutral, whatever one you guys want to do. Call it whatever you want. This is one word because literally when you look at it, it is neutral. It's just neutral all the way around, but it's one word. Neutral is what we're going to use. We're going to use one word. All right, just had to take a drink. So characters of this broad alignment typically believe in balance between law and chaos, and between good and evil. Some seek to maintain existing social institutions, while others simply wish to keep to themselves. Some neutral characters disdain the perception of other sentient beings, finding the truth lies in nature and its animals. Others follow their own code, which changes with the situation, tending to favor those that benefit them the most. Now, see, I personally think true neutral is the ultimate flexible alignment. I mean, it's hard to step out of that, and neutral is a perception of reality that changes from day to day. It changes from, well, I wouldn't say changes from day to day, changes from situation to situation. You're not necessarily going to hurt people to get to your benefits, but you're not going to be a person who does it constantly. You may hurt someone in one situation just to benefit you. This is why some people choose to keep themselves. People who are agoraphobic might be better in this situation. Of course, agoraphobia is where you just like to keep to yourself inside your own house, but not socialized, period. Neutral characters are generally hard to see. The hardest part is to understand who they are, because they can go either way. They don't, it's not that they don't care about the law, it just doesn't, they just don't have any perception of reality of law or chaos or good or evil. Typically pure innocence in my book, depending on how you handle the situation. Problem with true neutral is when interpreted as meaning balance, just that every good deed requires an equal evil one to balance it. Something I think after hearing Alexander Marcus say why is that D&D/OSR 9 alignments are written from the perspective of lawful good. I don't know about that second statement. I mean, technically, if you think about it, they're written in 2 different perspectives. They're written from the perspective of lawful good and chaotic evil, and then because when we're talking about every alignment outside of lawful good and every alignment outside of chaotic evil, that's like everything in between. I like to think when it comes to neutral, it's a healthy mix of both. And I do agree with you too, Colin. You know, it's basically to suggest pure balance, yin and yang would be every good deed requires an evil act, equal evil act to balance it. That is typically how some people would look at it, because it's like, hey, I did one good deed, so you go and commit an evil act. And now this is where GMs actually tend to have an issue. And we talked about that at the beginning of this actual video, is that GMs typically nicked alignments on characters to spite the characters and what they were doing and how they were using their character. Now, me as a GM, I don't think that should ever be something used for that, unless it was a strong, compelling case why a GM should do it. Now, people have also gone with this rule. Now, I've gone with this rule on a few things. The GM gets the final say. Period. And we do. But people use it kind of as a power trip. I've had a couple GMs that use it as a power trip, I feel. And by using it as a power trip, let me explain the situation. I had a GM once that, you know, they said, make me a character. So I made a character. The problem that he had with that was the amount of gold I had on my character. He didn't want me to have gold. He wanted me to roll for copper. And everything else was staying the same. I said, well, you never explained. So he got mad at me. And he never explained to me to use copper. You know, when you roll for your starting gold, you were rolling for starting copper instead. You know, so it's like if you had to roll 3d4 and you only got, like, say, 4, 8, 12, and you only got, like, 8, and you times it by 10, that's 80 gold. Well, instead of 80 gold, it should have been 80 copper. So I kind of argued with him, well, you never said that. And he's like, well, you need to not assume certain things from the GM. Now, first off, when somebody says that, the core rule book itself says starting fucking gold. If you take something from the core rule book and you tweak it, it needs to be mentioned. And saying, I'm the GM, that is you being on a power trip. Period. You will no one will ever sway me. Go, well, that's not entirely true. He's the GM. You know, this is how his world works. Well, great. It needs to be said. This is why, and honestly, since I got 2 of my players in here, one's about to be a new player, but Witch King can vouch for this. I don't say I'm the GM as a power trip. I do it as a way to settling a dispute. If there's arguments going on and we can't all agree, which happens, the players ain't always going to agree 100% with the GM, and the GM's not going to agree with one particular player 110%. So I have to say, well, I'm the GM. I'm going to nick this I'm going to, we can't come to an agreement. I'm the GM. I get final say. Here's my ruling. You know, in a sense, Colin, that could have been, that's how you and I kind of had a situation like that with how character creation works because of how the core rules are. But as I stated before, I am the GM and I have tweaked some of the rules. But, you know, I have actually came out and told you that before you even made a character. So, if I didn't tell you if I didn't tell you anything up front, then that's my fault as a GM. And I shouldn't say, well, I'm the GM, I get final say. No, that's just power tripping. And, and I'm going to say this. Nobody is going to get me to change my mind about that perception of reality. Because a GM's job is to get the information out there and the requirements out there for his players before he has them make characters. Okay, so I've got my players talking among themselves. Oh, that's awesome. So, back to neutrality. Balance. That's true neutral. Does that mean they can commit 2 good acts and 1 evil act? Yeah. Does that mean they commit, like, 1 good act and then completely slaughter an entire town? No. That does not mean that whatsoever. That, at some point you do become evil. At some point. So, unless you just do 1 good act here, 1 evil act here, you do this, you truly do it to further your own goals and not no one else's. You're not trying to become a rich overlord or anything like that. So, let's talk about neutral evil. Let's move on. Neutral evil. Neutral evil. I think this one is another one of my favorites. I don't know why, but we'll figure it out. Characters of this alignment mirror those of neutral good, but they typically follow a road that benefits themselves instead of others. Yeah. They don't give a shit about other people. They only give a crap about themselves. They don't really have a perception of reality of being a law-abiding citizen or a person who completely breaks the law. They're not going to 100% agree with a chaotic good person or a lawful good person. They are not going to probably even agree with a neutral good person versus a neutral evil person versus a chaotic evil person. Who knows? I guess that just all depends. It depends. Alignment is on an axis. There's 2 axes, which we're going to look at the axis here in a minute. We got 3 more alignments to cover. Let's move on. So, chaotic good. Characters of this alignment view the greatest good as being attainable through freedom and individual liberty. Thus, they place primary importance on individuality and liberty of action over that of any law or societal structure. They just want to be free. They don't want to follow any particular structure of order. They want to do their own thing. That's what chaotic good really means. It doesn't mean they're going to go hurt someone. It's just they're trying to obtain what they're trying to obtain. But they're trying to obtain individual freedom they look at, I would imagine a chaotic good character would look at everyone else as being drones, unable to think for themselves. That's what a chaotic good character is. Because if you have to follow the law, and you can't just bend it or break it, and you have no individual thought of your own, other than what you're being told by the person in charge, then that is a chaotic good character. A chaotic good character is someone who can think outside the box and cares more for their individuality than they do about what they're being told by the person in charge. They have no problem questioning the person in charge. A lawful good character would never question who's in charge. They would do it, and they would execute anything without distinction. Now, you're saying, well, what if a lawful good character was ordered to kill someone? Well, does that make them any less lawful or any less good? No, because they didn't question the person in charge. The person was, as far as they're concerned, they did what they were told, and that's the law. They have to, in a adventure game, let's look at medieval times. If a king told an army to slaughter a bunch of people just for the hell of it, and they had qualms on it, but they didn't question it, they did it, people would look at them as being an evil character. Technically, no. Because the law states you can't go against the king. And laws are absolute. They had qualms about it, but they had to choose between questioning the king and committing treason, or just doing what the king says. Doesn't make what they did right, but that's what the difference between a lawful good and chaotic good character. If a chaotic good knight was told to do the same thing, he would say, well, no, that's terrible. Why would I do that? These people deserve their freedom as they are. These people deserve their lives. Well, the king says, well, that I'm the king. You have to do it. That's the law. It's absolute. Chaotic good character would not do it. That's the difference between the two of them. See, and people are like, well, that doesn't sound like he's very good. I'm like, no, lawful good. He's not committing an evil act. He's doing it because he's ordered to. Sorry, I have a lot different perspectives on lawful good, where, I feel that some people have been very, I think some people have felt very comfortable playing lawful good characters around me, because I'm not so hard up, because, I had a GM once that I was supposed to do something, because I played a paladin, and they said, well, because you're not doing this, you're not really lawful good anymore. And it's like, well, that's a matter of perspective. I did what I did outside, because I was ordered to by the person in charge to uphold the law. I was just following orders. And they said, well, that's not entirely true. And it's like, no, because lawful good people do not have the freedom to question their individual liberty. That's not what lawful good is. Lawful good is they're good people trying to uphold the law, regardless what that is. Chaotic good believes in a little bit different, and actually it really is. There's also fact about how people of the period / culture view life and death. Yes. And I only got a few things from the Witch King and then Ironcaster. Welcome. You always played the Paladin. Okay, I don't always. Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah, I just explained about how a Paladin can do a tactical retreat without losing his alignment. Thank you. Because I did that a bunch of times. Tactical retreat. And they said, well, they argued with me. Aren't you lawful good? I'm like, yes, but I'm tactically taking a different position that would actually benefit everyone a lot more, including myself. Indeed, if you take the good people don't kill view, good characters would never survive. Exactly. You're getting it, Colin. Let's talk about chaotic neutral characters. Still using that tactical retreat line, I see. Been using it for 16 years, and I'm still... it's still a basis of a lot of many good conversations. So... Alright, let's talk about chaotic neutral. Characters of this alignment value individual freedom. They have no qualms in achieving it by whatever means necessary, good or otherwise. Yeah. Look at the axis. I don't think I don't think we really need to spend any time explaining that, ladies and gentlemen. If we do have any ladies in the audience. Yeah. And don't forget that for the vast majority of human history, was legal on basis of many cultures' way of life. Yes, it was, Witch King. Yes, it was. So, alright, chaotic neutral. They are... Actually, that's close to almost completely free. To do whatever you want. You don't care how the law looks at it. You're trying to promote your own individual freedom, and you're trying to achieve it with whatever means necessary. You don't really think about the good consequences or the bad consequences. You don't think about the lines of good and evil. You will go above the lines of good, crossing into the lines of evil, back to the lines of good, just to achieve your further goals. That's just personal at that point. That's got nothing to do with how you feel about a person or how you feel about anybody. I like to think a chaotic neutral character would be the Punisher. Well, I don't know. He might be chaotic good. Because he did hurt bad people. But he didn't give a shit about how he did it. So, that would be very debatable. Alright, let's not debate chaotic neutral anymore. There's really not much more to debate. Chaotic evil. Okay, my personal favorite. Chaotic... Brent, you're right. Chaotic good. LOL. Okay. Punisher would be chaotic good. Definitely. Okay. Oh, then I need a good for chaotic neutral. Daredevil. No, I don't even think Daredevil would be either. Alright. Let's look at chaotic evil. Chaotic evil is another good favorite of mine. I don't know where it is, but it's one of the easiest alignments to ever play. As a characters of this alignment tend not to value anything, disdaining others, and often seeking to destroy for their own selfish reasons. They seek power and the ability to wield it as they see fit. Oh yeah, chaotic neutral would be Robin Hood. He took from the rich to give to the poor. And he broke the law doing it, so he didn't care. And his main goal was to help the poor rise up and be on a ground with the rich. That is perfect good reason of chaotic neutral. Alright, enough of neutral. We're on chaotic evil now. Once again, the characters of these alignments tend not to value anything. Alright? They are out to seek their own power. They don't care They're out for themselves. They will hurt whoever. They will be happy in doing it. They will save whoever they want, maybe, if nobody at all, and they'll still be happy in doing it. So Chaotic Evil is pretty easy to play. I don't really see anyone, and I know for a fact when it comes to alignment shifts that GMs have done to spite others, that is the one that they never say, we're going to shift your alignment. You did a good thing, and you're Chaotic Evil, we're going to shift your alignment. We should shift it to Chaotic Neutral. I'm like, why? I mean, he's evil. Yeah, he helped someone out. Big deal. He also made, 1,000 gold. Now he's going to kill the person. And even if he doesn't, so what? He only helped the person out to get 1,000 gold. If the guy didn't give him 1,000 gold, it wasn't going to happen. So, no. Chaotic Evil is very easy alignment to play. Alright. Let's take a look at... Let's give... So we've talked about the descriptions here. We talked about what these really are and how broad they are. Let's give light to the actual axis. Let's put the axis in a format that we can understand and visual see. Booyah! The axis. We have our lawful axis here, neutral and chaotic, and then here is our good, neutral, and evil. The axis flows this way, so the lawful to chaotic axis flows this way, while the good to evil axis flows this way. So think of it like a T-chart. You can literally draw a T-chart. Or not a T-chart, a T-graph. Actually, I'm going to draw one right now. Why? Because I fucking can. So let's draw... There we go. Look at that. Place it anywhere, right? So lawful... Or no, yep, so lawful... Or no, wait, it would be lawful to chaotic, good to evil. It's like a number graph chart, but it doesn't work out quite good. Oh, wait, you guys can't even see it. Never mind. I was drawing outside the block. But you guys get the idea. Alright, so. Alright, so we're going to exit out of that. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's look at some of this stuff here. Okay, so what's the point on showing you guys this? Well, the way the axis would work is the adjacent alignments would work well, may not be as tight as another chaotic, like say for instance, we choose a neutral person. It is said that the alignments adjacent to your main alignment, which means up, down, left, or right for neutral. If it was lawful good, it'd be either down, because it's in the corner, either down here or over here. We're going to actually look at that. I'm going to pull up my actual characters that we threw together during our workshop videos, and we're going to go over their alignments one by one. Granted, I said we weren't going to have any boring ways, but, we got to get it out there. I'm loading them up right now. Alright, we're going to get rid of this. And I'm going to put them in an order of how we design them. Let's talk about Sir Brian of Egg Sample. Sir Brian of Egg Sample is lawful evil. Booyah. We're going to make him red. Well, we're going to make them all red. Okay. So, we have a character who's lawful evil. I shouldn't have closed my book. And I did. We should look at the fact of what we said about lawful evil characters. Really should. And we're going to. While we're doing this. Okay, so, lawful evil are characters who value structure and order, and they place no limit on attaining it, especially if the goal is to their own benefit. They do not value life or concern for others. Ultimately, they seek to impose their ideals on others through strict regulation. Even if you don't work with another lawful evil character, that doesn't mean your characters all have to be the same alignment for you to work well with them. You can actually work somewhat good with them because they do value some actual differences to some degree. It is said that if your character has an alignment, the alignments adjacent to them, which means up or down. That doesn't mean kitty corner. Kitty corner is not adjacent. It's up. It's like right next to them. So for lawful evil, it'll be lawful neutral or neutral evil. So you will work well with someone who's lawful neutral or neutral evil, because, well, I think we read those. So let's read those again a little bit. Let's look at that. So lawful neutral are characters that place primary importance on ultimate order, which actually shares almost the same view as a person who's lawful evil. You place no limit you place no limit on valuing. You value structure and order, and you place no limit on attaining it. Whereas a lawful neutral character places order and structure and regulation as primary importance. And one of the greatest things about a lawful neutral character is they don't care how they attain it as long as the order of law flows. As long as everything stays perfect. So, a lawful neutral character and a lawful evil character could very well work together. And may not have any qualms because a lawful neutral character doesn't care about the evil acts of a lawful evil character. As long as their primary goal together is to obtain order, structure, and regulation. The next alignment a lawful evil character would work with is neutral evil. Neutral evil characters mirror those of neutral good, but they typically follow a road that benefits themselves instead of others. Which means if they see a lawful evil character commit an evil act but to uphold structure and regulation, they don't care. It means nothing to them. So they could work well together. And that depends if the player wants their character to work well with them. That's totally still up to the players. So, that's Sir Brian of Example. Lawful Evil. Let's look at Leah Cyanodel. Cyanodel is Elvish for Moonbrook. We could also call her Leah Moonbrook. It's so much easier. But I had to go with the original freaking Elvish name, because she's an elf. Alright, so let's look at Chaotic Evil. Generally, ideally, Chaotic Evil would work good with Chaotic Neutral and Neutral Evil. We already read Neutral Evil. They pretty much do not care about any of this, so they would pretty much work well with these two. Probably because they share the evil acts and they could care less about law and order. They got their own goals. But what about a chaotic neutral person? Well, if you remember, a chaotic neutral person values individual freedom. They have no qualms in achieving it by whatever means necessary, good or otherwise. So they would actually pretty much would help out a chaotic evil person, because really, chaotic evil person is seeking all power. Well, as long as it's not disrupting their freedom, they're going to completely go with it. They just want freedom. That's it. Nothing else. So as long as the chaotic evil person doesn't try to enslave or hurt the chaotic neutral person, they can work well together. Next one is chaotic neutral, which we just did. Alright, so this one is going to be kind of interesting. Because chaotic neutral is dead center. Okay? They could work well with a chaotic good person, chaotic evil person, or a neutral. We already know the definition and talked about many times chaotic evil and chaotic neutral. Let's look at chaotic good. We know what chaotic neutral is. Let's look at chaotic good. Chaotic good, once again, views the greatest good as being attainable through freedom and individual liberty. So chaotic good may not work well with chaotic evil, but they would have no qualms with chaotic neutral because chaotic neutral is only out to further their own goals. And they both actually value one thing that others may not: individual freedom. Their ideas are their own. This is an ideal team right here. These two. And neutral, if any character... So if you had a chaotic neutral, chaotic good, and a neutral character, that is an ideal team. Because neutral characters don't care. They yin and yang. One good act could lead to a bad act. You know, they see one character doing something okay or good, great, but then they see another character doing something evil, great. It's really just a perspective of how they do it. If things become too much for them, they just separate themselves. That is it. So would Sir Brian work well with Leah? Not really, because they don't value the same. They don't. Leah wants chaos and destruction, while Sir Brian wants law and order, but both of them. See, now these two are polar opposites, because these two would actually do whatever it takes to further their own goals, which would be separate of each other's. How many players have you met as neutral that swing too far from the idea silly utopianism? Actually, I haven't had too many characters play true neutral before. And I haven't either, so. And even, now the chaotic neutral person wouldn't really care for Sir Brian. Okay, so Gimbal wouldn't care for Sir Brian too much. He doesn't care if he's good or evil, but Gimbal does not like his idea of, you know, structure and order of society. He wants to be a free person. Where structure and order of society could be, well, you have to do this, you have to do that, and if you don't, it's breaking the law. So that's the difference between these ones. Alright, let's talk about our last one, Hank. Who is our half-orc bard? Neutral good. Here is, now to me, Hank is, to be honest, I've never really seen law and chaos as completely opposites. Lawful characters obey all laws. Chaotic ones would still obey unless they get in the way. Well, one values structure. Well, it's like I said, it's not about who follows the law and who doesn't. It's about what the law of the land is and what are they willing to do. Sir Brian may be lawful evil. He may be evil, but he would still... he only does things to uphold law, society, and peace. He may just murder people to do it. Whereas Leah, because she's chaotic evil, she doesn't care. She's out for her own self, and she's willing to cause chaos and disarray and panic because that's what she loves doing, as long as she gets what she wants. So, I mean, essentially, they could be polar opposites. I mean, they're both... but does that make lawful good and lawful evil polar opposites? In a sense. I mean, one's good, one's evil. That's a no-brainer. But I figure, who would cause the most disruption and panic and chaos in the world and complete mayhem? Chaotic people. Where lawful people would just uphold structure and order. Kind of good and evil really, kind of just, they're always against each other. I mean, it is what it is. But once again, these are also, but you are right for that level of thinking. I mean, you would also be right for that level of thinking regardless, Colin, because, and that is a good question to go in with that. Because at the same time, one is just out for themselves. That is the basic. And these are just really, and once again, as we stated, we should go back to our primary rule, which was, these are literally just broad matters of, what is it? Perspectives. Broad perspectives. You could still, play your character how you see fit in certain, within all of this. Like I said, I don't look at these as being something that should be, like, if you don't do something that follows your alignment, it should not be used, against you to shift your alignment. Like I said, the one problem I had with, I use my perfect example, if you haven't seen it, is Gamer's Darkness Rising, whereas the character Gary used his character to kill a farmer, And he said, I'm just playing my alignment. I'm chaotic neutral. Well, the GM argued that he was technically chaotic evil because he committed an evil decisive act. And that he threatened Gary, the GM threatened Gary, to shift his alignment. I don't think alignments should ever be used to actually punish anybody for anything they do, unless there's a very compelling case. Now, a sorcerer or a wizard, a character killing an NPC in that way, I think something should be talked about, but I don't think it should be used as a punishment. And I think that was one thing that a lot of GMs back in, especially in the 80s, and now I'm not speaking from experience because I was born in the 80s, so I'm not that old. I'm only in my 30s. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but I'm only in my 30s. Colin. So I just don't think it should be, like, GMs should not be using it in that sense. Okay, so the Witch King said not necessarily. Brent did say polar idealistic, but the reality of every situation is different, so no. And then, so law can cause just as much evil as chaos, in my honest opinion. Well, this is, and to further what I was saying, Witch King, this actually furthers what I said primarily. Let's remember that these are only broad perspectives. And perspective, we even went over the definition of perspectives. Well, we didn't do perspectives, but we went over the term of interpretation, that these are us trying to explain how they fit with us. Us trying to fit in and explain it. But other than that, they're also broad perspectives about how you see it. And my key word is, my key example was a lawful good character. Where I played a lawful good paladin, and people thought I wasn't lawful good because of how certain things that I did do in a game. But once again, lawful good is a matter of perspective. If if a knight or a paladin is ordered to kill someone by orders of the king, that doesn't make them an evil person. They're just upholding what their beliefs is absolute. My king told me to do this. You can't go against that if you're lawful good. Now, if you go against it and you save people, I'm going to say you're not lawful good because you went against the absolute absolution of your code. But you're more neutral good. Really, really personally, once again, it goes back to alignment should never be used to punish a character or a player. I would think that the whole alignment in-game only really has major impact on characters whose abilities come from a deity. Yes. I do agree with that one too, Colin. We just skipped a comment here. I want to get this one out here. Witch King. The Roman Empire would technically be lawful, but they practice utter barbaric customs. Yes. Once again, that kind of furthers my lawful good situation. I was avoiding that particular example, but absolutely, I would suggest authoritarian system is lawful. Yeah, my bad. Just like the notion. Okay, fair enough. All right. Anyway, let's go back to neutral good. Okay. I don't really know how much further I can explain neutral good people. Hang on a second. Neutral good characters have a healthy respect of both law and freedom, typically choosing a road between the two to achieve benefit for mercy for all, including their comrades and people that are close to them. Maybe even those that are not close to them. Generally, they would work good with someone who's chaotic good, because they would value the freedom. And there's, and a chaotic good character would share the same ideals as a neutral good character. And even a neutral good character would share the same ideals as a lawful good character. They're just trying to find a road to achieve mercy and safety for everyone. A lawful good character would do the same thing. A lawful good character would also be the jackass that goes, my king ordered me to do this, I can't do anything. That's the difference between the two. But the similarities would be they would try to just achieve, goals that would benefit the greater good and for everyone around them. As well as a chaotic good person. A chaotic good person just believes in the freedom and the flexibility that they should have flexibility and adaptability in their lives. They value their individual freedom and the individual of others. So, Now, Sir Brian is lawful evil. Leah is chaotic evil. Gimbal is chaotic neutral. And neutral good is Hank, who is also half orc. So, not your most ideal team here, because it's hard to say if Leah would share all the same aspects of Sir Brian. They may have some things in common because they're both part of the evil axis. I know Gimbal wouldn't share any exact same notions with Sir Brian. He would probably just look at him as, you're just a coward and a douche, and hide behind the law to further your own stupidity. He wouldn't really care about, Leah too much, because he's been pretty much... They share the same ideals through flexibility and individual liberty and freedom. He wouldn't care what she was doing because he doesn't really have a notion of good and evil. He's just like, she's trying to live her life. That's it. And Hank... Well, I mean, we've already explained that. He wants to help others. And, Hank is a half orc bard. I think if I ever get to play Hank, I'm going to say Hank is going to try and help others through interpretive music. Because he has a mandolin. He's a bard. So, maybe that music is not lawful in Egg Sample. Maybe that's how these two meet. Who the hell knows? But this is how kind of alignments work. To me, it's like I told everybody, if somebody was to be a neutral good character and they commit an evil act, I'm not gonna say, well, you're no longer neutral good. You get moved down to true neutral. I'm not gonna do that. And then say, well, you commit an evil act and a good act. You're still true neutral. Well, you got to commit another good. We're not gonna worry about all that. I don't know why that was a big worry for people. I just want people when you choose your alignment, and I'm gonna know what alignment you choose as a player. When you choose your alignment, let's just I'm just going to see what you've chosen and what you're going to do with your character. All these alignments really do for me as a GM. When I'm reading a character sheet and I put alignments on them, I'm just interpreting your character's personality of how you're going to play your character. I personally will not use alignment shifting as a way to punish a player. That is not what alignment is supposed to be used for. Because if it was, why isn't alignment shifting part of the core book? It's never been a part of any core book. I don't know why it's been some stupid rule that somebody went with. I've had many GMs who did it. I think it's stupid. And and it dulls down the personality and experience of one's character. Yes, alignments are a realistic thing, okay? But they're to be used to interpret your personality, not exactly be used against you. Like I said, unless there is a serious compelling case, I may allow you as a player, you come and tell me. You tell me that I think my alignment should shift because I put myself down as a lawful neutral, but I've really actually committed a lot of evil acts. I've stolen a lot of a lot of goods. And I could argue with you that, how do you feel? Okay, so you stolen. I said, and you're lawful neutral. Well, stealing, if what you stolen, did it hurt the family? Well, financially, but they're still alive. Okay, well, I wouldn't say you're lawful whatever or neutral. Okay, you did what you did. It happened. You paid your price for it. That's the other thing. It's what's the point of going to jail? Because in games, a lot of people say, well, you're going to go to jail. You broke the law. You got caught. You're arrested. You're going to go to jail. What's the point of going to jail if you're not, you served your time and you're out for redemption? What's the point of shifting alignments? Now, if you come and tell me you think and you feel really strongly about it, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do with your character. I'm only going to tell you if something's hit or miss and tell you what you can or can't do in a game without telling you first, advising of how things would be. But I don't want to focus, as a GM, I wouldn't want to focus on alignments. This whole workshop was solely done just to talk about alignments, because alignments to me is a fun topic. However, I just wanted to get my point of view about what alignments really are. And I was very, very clearly about at the beginning of the video. For whoever missed it, check it out. They're broad perspectives that is built to interpret one's personality. They are not any way, shape, or form telling me how you're going to play your character. Playing a chaotic evil character is not me saying that they're going to take over my game and railroad it, blah, 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 and try to become the evil supreme overlord. Playing a lawful good character doesn't mean that they're not going to at least commit one act that is technically evil, but do it under the confines of a king because they're following the freaking law. You play your character as you see fit. And so let's talk about the last thing before I wrap everything up. I've been talking for almost an hour. An hour and 15 minutes. Let me get something to drink here. Alright. So, I do not want one's personality as a GM, and this is personal to me. Not every GM is going to share my ideas. I don't want one player ever with me to feel that they're shackled. Let's look up that term. I'm going to look up that term in the dictionary. I actually am. I'm going to tell you what the word shackled means. Okay? Shackle means chains with shackles, or restrain or limited to. It also means restrict or hamper or hinder. I do not, and I repeat, I do not want any of my players, and if anyone who views this has never been one of my players, if I'm ever your GM, you can do this. I do not, you can refer me to this video in case I act out of place. Perfect. I do not want one person to feel restricted to their alignment from doing something in-game that would benefit a roleplay perspective and create great dramatic experiences. Because to me, that is what role-playing is a great dramatic experience. Do not hinder your character's personality based on your alignment. Just pick an alignment. Yes, try to perceive it however you want. That's the whole point. But it is broad. And the word broad, which has been used, also means, and I'm actually going to look this up, broad, having an ample distance from side to side. It means wide, covering a large number and wide scope of subjects or areas. I'm not going to say the last one because people could actually be... So, broad is used when they say there's a broad range, that means there's a wide scope. It's already been interpreted in the book that this is a very wide scope. So don't feel like you're shackled. You're a neutral good character. If you want to go out and earn some money, that doesn't make you chaotic good. That was one thing that was one argument that pissed me off, and I'm going to share that with you guys. Is I went out on a mission as a paladin, and people are like, well, you're lawful good. You got to worship your deity. You got to do this. You got to do that. You should give back to the people. Oh, what about for myself? I actually had one GM who did that. I totally did not like him after that and said, no, I'm not going to do that because I got to be able to take care of myself. Well, you're lawful good. It's not about you. That's bullshit. Don't ever feel that shackled to your alignment. Just choose an alignment and try to fit your personality best in the alignment that you best can. That is how alignments work. To me, that's how alignments work. But don't feel shackled to it. If you're a lawful good character, yeah, you got to pay some dues. Well, what do you freaking do? Everyone's paid. Every one of these alignment pays dues to something. Oh dear Lord, you got to buy food. But how do you get the food? You got to go work. Money's just not handed out for free. So, to wrap this up, yeah, don't feel shackled by that. Don't be intimidated by alignment. Just use the alignment and the description of the alignment to the best of your ability to obtain to obtain your character's personality. Simple as that. Well, I'd like to get some thanks out there today. I'd like to thank Brent for coming in. Supporting me. I do appreciate you, Brent. Thank you so much for being here. I'd like to thank Colin. Colin, dude, I don't know, man. You are like, I hope you and I get to be good friends. I really do. I hope we get to be really, really tight. You have come out to every single one of my Castles and Crusades streams. I even think you even showed up to a stream. You even showed up to a stream that had nothing to do with Castles and Crusades. You've been a major supporter these last couple weeks. I'd like to give you a personal thank you right here on the stream. Thank you, Colin, for supporting me. Because you have no reason to do it. We barely know each other. And despite the 5 to 8 hour time difference. Yeah, I gotta put that out there. And I'm going to put that out there on stream. So don't get mad at me. If you do, I'm sorry. Just to let the audience know, Colin is living in a time zone that's almost 6 hours difference from mine. He is currently at like 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning. I would say 2:30. 2:30 a.m. in the freaking morning. And he's out supporting me. And he has supported every single stream since him and I met. So, thank you really, really freaking much. I can't thank you enough. So Colin, you dived into Star Trek Adventures. Well, we may have to see if I can work our schedule a little bit between my other two players to see if we can get you in at some time. You may not make this arc, but we will have another story arc. So, just to let you know, when we do characters, I'm probably gonna have you do an ensign. Close. Our docs went back the last weekend, but you're welcome. Oh, okay. Our clocks. Oh, your clocks went back last week. When did I think our clocks go back tonight. So yeah. Still appreciate you being out here. And of course, I'm gonna give one more person the recognition he deserves, and he's not even here to get it, is the Witch King. Witch King, if you're coming in and out, I hope you're hearing this. Thank you so much for coming out to my stream as well. This was very interesting to do. And I said it wasn't going to be half as long. I figured it was going to be only a half hour, but we really got into a lot of good stuff. And also, I got to thank Ironcaster. Ironcaster, you and I have been friends for a long time. Well, as I said, you are here. Okay, nice that you're here. Well, Witch King, thank you so much for coming out today. I do much appreciate that. Just to let everybody know, due to certain circumstances, I may be scarce the next 6 days. Please be patient with me in the near future, especially to my players. I'm making this announcement on stream just to let you guys know. If people, especially if those who are trying to join any of my games, if I don't get back with you, I will get with you. I actually will have my Discord that will keep all my messages in order. It's just, I got a lot of things going on in my personal life right now. It's all work related. Let's just say it's all work related. It's work. We're not going to say what it is, but it's work. It's a little stressful, and I'm booked the next 6 days. So hopefully, I will be working on things silently and in the background. And I may still do some streams, but I'm going to restrict myself to my streams only. And my last day of work for a while will be probably Wednesday. Thank God. I will go to work Wednesday, but that'll be it for me, and then I'll be fine for Thursday. So definitely, there will be more Star Trek Adventures coming in the near future. Definitely, when we do those on Wednesdays. So, my character was fresh out of Starfleet Academy. That's how, Colin, that's how we started all of our characters. Actually, our Rollis Trin and Zep were both actually fresh out of Starfleet Academy. So. Oh, so Iron is incognito. Yep. And Ironcaster, we've known each other for, like I said, I blurted it out, 16 years, because you said, well, I see you're still using that tactical retreat. And it's like, yep, and I've been using it for 16 years is what I said. So, that's how long we've been gaming. Not as long as most people. Some people have got over 20, 30 years on us, or we don't. But, we did start around 18. Story, funny fun fact that no one here knows, so you're going to find out. Ironcaster and I actually know each other before we streamed. He actually, the funny thing is, he got me into streaming. He was the one who got me into streaming. So Ironcaster and I actually joined up the first day I decided to play tabletop games. Ironcaster was my tabletop buddy. So we played games together and we had a GM. We were both players. It seems like now we're both GMs, except he is a player successfully on one of his games. Me, I think I'm just be a forever GM because I like prepping. I like doing the work. It's all fun. Tabletop got me to... Yes, that's right, Witch King. I got you to stream too. Well, streaming is fun. I do enjoy this as a great hobby and a pastime. And, it gives you something to do when you have nothing else to do besides beat your head against the wall. And that's not good. So I'd rather people stream than do that. So, all right. Well, that is all I have for today. I've already thanked everybody who came out, that I saw everyone in the stream today. I gotta say, for all of you guys, for this week coming ahead, go in peace. Love each other. Okay, love your neighbors. If your neighbors are nice people, pass on a nice compliment. Today I gave someone a really good compliment today, and I even got a nice compliment back in return. So yeah, definitely pass off some compliments. It's always nice, especially if you know someone. If you got a friend, even if you got a friend, if you don't want to say, well, I don't want to do a random person, do a friend. Tell a friend, hey, I want you, even if you don't have to tell them you love them, just go, I appreciate you. You're my friend and I appreciate you. Yep, you guys all have a great weekend too. Be excellent towards each other. Yeah, to each other. Yes. I believe that was Keanu Reeves, and I forgot the other guy. I think his name is Winter, but it was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. And I actually saw all 3 movies, so be excellent to each other. That's right. There is no reason to... See y'all. I hope you... Yeah, I will try, Witch King, but I can't make any promises today. Well, anyway, you all be well to each other, and work hard, game hard, play hard, game on, everybody. I always mix up my famous Tabletop Junkie salute. You guys all have a great and wonderful weekend. I will not keep you anymore.